What was that?
Me laughing.
No, that sound. It sounded like one of those "the more you know" PSAs. It did.
Stop.
Stop what? That's what it sounded like.
That was just me like a because I'm laughing at your Jillinator.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were in a time machine from the 90s or some shit. It's like I've heard that sound before. What is that? Christine, Sergio, Mike, Irene, Randy. Hi, everyone. How are you all doing? Christina, Karen, thank you guys for showing up, supporting us every day. Are you okay, Jill? You all right?
I'm perfectly fine.
Okay. You seem a little flustered today.
No, why would I be? I have nothing to be flustered about.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, he's not taking guest requests.
What does my background say? This is one of my t-shirts. That's one of my t-shirts available in my link in my bio on TikTok. It's a beautiful day outside. So my dogs are green today.
What?
That's a thing. Yeah. My little white schnauzer's green. So.
Grass cutting?
Huh?
Is it from the grass cutting?
It's-
Grass?
It's from the yard got sprayed yesterday.
Yes.
I guess the grass was wet with dew this morning.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I just like let him out, like go run free.
Go turn green.
And I came back inside and they were back in the house and they're looking at me with sad faces. They're pretty high maintenance dogs. And yeah, they're a little green, so they're gonna. I think they're pissed. Like they know it's that bath time is coming, and they don't like that. So
They don't like that, and I don't blame them.
yeah, Wilson's like shit. I gotta take a bath. Hi, Andrea. Thanks everyone so much for joining us on this beautiful Friday afternoon. I have a live goal here. Please gift the moderator if you can. The Dow Jones is, how was it? Basically flat today. Stock market didn't move much. I think it's down or up 50. It's basically flat. Oil's up a little bit today, 68.30. Gas is up for the third day in a row, $3.13 a gallon. I told you guys gas prices are about to start rising, up 3 days in a row. Natural gas, $4, RBOB, $2.19. Donald Trump is very happy because, according to him, we now own all of Ukraine's natural resources and nuclear power generation capabilities. And Zelensky's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Did you see that?
I did not.
Yeah, that was weird. That was
Nadia,
weird.
that is weird.
Oh, man. That's great. Lovely, lovely day. What else is in the news? The Department of Education? Yeah. That's not a thing.
That's in the news, yeah.
Yeah, that's not a thing. That'll get turned over pretty quickly, huh?
That will, yes, it definitely will.
Because of all these activist judges, right? Um, yeah, so, Republicans are complaining about the activist judges. They've already ruled against Trump more times in his first 60 days, whatever, than they did against Biden in his whole term. Do you know why judges rule against people? Any idea why judges would rule against?
Against the department, closing the Department of Education.
Nah, I just mean if you do shit that's against the law,
Oh,
the judge is going to rule against you. That's kind of how it works. Like, you can't just come out every day and say, we're going to do something that is completely unconstitutional, that everyone knows is unconstitutional, and if a judge rules against me, then they're crazy. Right?
exactly. The judge is going to rule against something like that. That's what their job is.
And what's bad is a lot of these things, we learn about this stuff in grade school. You don't have to be, a constitutional scholar to know that the president can't just dissolve the Department of Education. It has to be done by Congress. Like, this isn't high level stuff. Like, even stupid people know this. No offense to stupid people, but how about Jimmy Kimmel running for president? Did you forget how we got here? Did you forget how we got here? We made a reality TV show host the president of the United States. That's why we're here. I don't think we need Jimmy Kimmel. No offense to Jimmy Kimmel. Don't think we need him. Yeah, not a thing. Why did gas prices go up 30 cents? Well, yeah, I know. I know you were being facetious. Because Donald Trump controls gas prices, and he decided they needed to be 30 cents more. That's why. Now I'm being facetious, right? No. Well, because that's what happens. We're swapping to summer blend. It's springtime. It's spring break. Demand is up. Gas is more expensive. Happens every year. March, April, May, June, July. Gas prices are going to continue to go up. So has nothing to do with Donald Trump. Has nothing to do with Joe Biden. It has to do with just how shit works. This is how markets work. This is how it's always been. This will be the 27th year out of the last 31 years that gas prices have risen in March, April, May, I shouldn't say April and May yet because they're not here and we could have an economic collapse that would actually make gas prices fall. So I shouldn't say that. I'm just going to say March. Thank you, Demond. Did you see the Declaration of Independence in the Oval Office? Donald Trump thinks it's the real one. Like, he thinks it's the actual Declaration of Independence.
Oh, I believe that.
I have no problem at all. Don't get it twisted. I have nothing against a copy of the Declaration of Independence being in the Oval Office. That's cool. How can you think that's the original? Like, it literally looks brand new. I'm just going to start doing this. I'm just going to, every time I talk, I'm going to do this.
No, don't do
And I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, right?
No.
Nah, it keeps people engaged, right? People listen. You have a propane question? Go ahead and ask it. My hands are too big.
Yes.
That's not what she said.
Like,
You don't like Nick Cage? What? What's the deal with Nick Cage anyway? How did such a cheesy actor become such an icon? I've been to Nick Cage's gravesite. Yeah, that's a little weird. Did you
that's
did you know that's a thing?
no, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. He's got one of these things at this cemetery in New Orleans. What do they call them? The like the above ground. I don't know what they call them. What do they call them? Somebody
Oh
on
my
that.
God, it's right there. I can say it, but I can't get it out.
It's like a little cement building, like with
Well,
body.
I know what you're talking about, a crypt, they're saying, but it's a mausoleum. That's it.
I was thinking mausoleum, but for some reason I was thinking mausoleum was the building that has a bunch of them in it. But yeah, it's probably mausoleum or crypt. He already has one that he's purchased at this cemetery in New Orleans. And yeah, a lot of people are saying mausoleum. That must be what it is. Okay. He's already got his ready to go, fired up and ready to go, on display for people to walk by and look at.
That's weird.
I'm sure somebody in here has been to that graveyard in New Orleans. It's also what was the witch's name? Laveau. Is there like a witch named Laveau or something like from New Orleans? Maybe she wasn't a witch. Maybe she was into something else. I don't know. Anyway, I saw it. Doesn't matter. Yes, Marie. Is it Marie Laveau? Yeah, she was there. Voodoo, yeah. Voodoo, that's it. It's all coming back to me now. Oh, man. Jill for the win over Matt. What win? I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I don't mind Jill winning. I just don't know what we're talking about.
I don't either.
Richard says my ex-wife. Okay. Not my ex-wife, his ex-wife. Yeah. Aloysius, everyone knows that stealth fighters are actually invisible. Like, everyone knows that. Jill knows that, right?
What?
Stealth fighters, they're actually invisible. That's a thing.
Yes. I think they have a cloak.
Oh, man. Hoosier says his stock account's down by nearly 10%. I haven't looked at mine. I don't need that kind of stress in my life today. I'm just going to leave that app closed. Oh. You got any big plans this weekend, Jill?
Well, not that I know of yet. I'm hoping my granddaughter's coming over. If she has to pick, between this grandma and the other grandma, so I'll know later.
Oh, man.
I mean, she doesn't have to pick, but I don't know if she's going there or not. Or or if my husband's doing something. I don't know.
Yes. Wonder Woman was pretty stealthy. Oh, Wonder Woman. Serious question. What happens when Trump actually defies court orders again? That's a great question. I wish I could answer that for you, but I can't. I honestly have no idea what happens when Trump continues to defy court orders. I don't know. I haven't been here before. This isn't in my wheelhouse. I don't agree. I don't think that Wonder Woman was a DEI superhero. I You can't fake being a superhero, right? I agree. Google says nothing will happen. He's defying an order from a court that gave him full immunity. I kind of agree with that. So
Uncle Taco, yes, there are lots of fake Mr. Globals that scam people.
I think Wonder Woman was, yeah. She's also a goddess. Rick says he will fight anyone that says something about Wonder Woman. I don't blame you. Do we have any superheroes today? Is that a thing? I don't watch much TV anymore.
I don't know. I don't think so.
We certainly don't have any cool ones, or I would know about it. I mean, a big portion of the country thinks they have a superhero.
Yes.
It's- I'm very disappointed in our energy secretary, Chris Wright. He came out on TV this morning and said gas prices were down 15% since Election Day. That's not a thing. Gas prices are higher than they were on Election Day. I can't. Haven't heard a lot about this lowest gas prices in 4 years in the last 3 days since gas prices have been rising. Haven't heard a lot about that. That's kind of gone away. I thought it would. Mr. Global, if a barrel of oil is selling at almost $70, why is gas at $3 in Texas? The state average gas price for Texas is around $2.70 right now. Or it was yesterday. It may have gone up some more today, but it's around $2.70. And you know, I I did a piece on this yesterday where people still think that gas prices should reflect what they've reflected historically at specific oil prices. And the thing is, there's a lot more variables involved in how gas prices are set other than oil prices. And so the fact of the matter is, we have significantly less refining capacity than we did in 2019. A lot of people like to compare oil prices in 2019 and 2018 to now and wonder, why are gas prices higher now than they were then? Because we don't have the refining capacity we had in 2018 and 19. So gasoline inventories are lower. It's not just the price of a barrel of oil. It's also how much gasoline inventories you have in stock, how much demand they're forecasting, right? All of that has to do with gas prices. It's not just a barrel of oil. And so that's why gas prices are roughly 20 to 30 cents a gallon higher now at the same oil price. Because we don't have as much gas. Even though we produce more oil than we ever have, we have less refineries than we had a few years ago. And you have to turn that oil into gas in order to bring down those gas prices. So that's the problem. That's always been a big part of the problem. And the previous administration understood that a little bit, but not very much. And the current administration doesn't understand it very much either, even though we literally have a supposed oil man as the energy secretary. He also repeated the lie that this Constitution pipeline that they want to build from Pennsylvania to New York is going to cut everyone's energy prices. He said in half. That's not a thing. That is not a thing. That is never going to happen. So, just not. Thank you for the gifts, Nadia. Hi, Rusty. Rusty said he had a couple of more friends that were laid off in the oil field. He says, Chris is a smart guy. I'm afraid he's drunk on the Kool-Aid. That's what's so disappointing about it. Chris is a smart guy. A lot of people were happy with Chris as the pick of the energy secretary. I was cautiously happy because while all of the analysts and oil executives, like all of these people were celebrating, including a good friend of mine, Robert Bryce, who's totally in love with Chris Wright. I wasn't celebrating because in my mind, I'm thinking, what's going to happen to this dude when he gets to Washington, D.C.? And it literally happened the minute he got off the plane. He turned into a lying-ass politician. And he has not said a single thing that makes a lick of sense since he got to Washington, D.C. So he flipped really quickly. A lady today told me that 20 states are going to get rid of their property taxes because of Doge. I don't know if states get rid of property taxes, they're going to increase taxes elsewhere to make up for that loss of revenue. That's just going to happen. So I don't know what Doge would have to do with it. I do support some type of plan where people's property taxes stop, right? Either at a certain age or when you pay off the house, or, at some point your property taxes should stop or be greatly reduced. People shouldn't be beholden to their state and local governments to pay for the house that they already own for the rest of their lives. I don't agree with that at all. Steelworks says he's glad that Wright and Burgum are meeting with the oil executives. Yeah, they met with the oil executives, and the oil executives said, if you want to drill, baby, drill, oil's got to be $80. That's what the oil executives said to them. If you want to drill, oil's got to be $80. So that meeting did not go too well. They basically walked in and said, we're not doing shit unless you get oil to $80. Then we'll drill. Yes, property taxes are state taxes, also county taxes and local taxes where I live. There's city, county, and state taxes. But it's true, and that's the thing, you know. Hi, Juju. It is Friday. And that's what I expected the oil executives to tell them in that meeting. I expected them to walk in there and say, this is not a thing. This is not going to happen. So, and that's what they did. Look for an election in Canada on April 28th. Have they announced that? Have they announced... That's interesting. A lot of analysts and people and I'm following a lot of data, looking at a lot of data right now, oil should be significantly more expensive than it is based on historical inventory levels and current demand. Our inventory levels globally for oil are super low right now. Super low. And if that continues to be a talking point that's coming out a lot more publicly, we could see oil prices rise with all of that, but we'll see. They're going to announce the elections this weekend. Okay. You know, I kind of like that. I didn't know this about Canada, about how they do their elections, when they announce them and all that. But I do kind of like this because it's March the 21st. And it appears that they're going to announce that they're about to have an election in Canada. And so it appears as if this announcement will come 5 weeks or so, 4 to 5 weeks before the election. That's perfect. That's perfect. Because now they don't have to deal with people campaigning 365 days a year for 5 years for a presidential election. I would much rather we did that. Short election seasons would be fantastic. Mr. Global, does Gas Buddy show gross prices including local taxes, or does it show net prices? It shows the total price, but Gas Buddy is historically lower than everybody else. Gas Buddy's averages are always lower than the EIA and AAA. And so, yeah, I looked on EIA today and AAA both. I did not look on Gas Buddy. Gas Buddy's usually like 3 or 4 cents a gallon lower. I don't know why. They have a different formula, I guess. But the EIA and AAA are always pretty much spot on. They're always, but pretty much at the same number. So... But yeah, I would love to have a very short election cycle, election season, whatever you want to call it. That I would love that. That would be great. But we'll never get that here. We don't get to have nice things. We have to listen to this shit for years. It's like it never stops at this point. It never stops. We are in a perpetual campaign in the United States. I think when Donald Trump won in When he took office in 2017, he announced his campaign for 2020 the day after or the same day. It was either the day he took office or the day after. A 4-year campaign.
I'm so sick of looking at that man's face and listening to his voice since 2006, 15. It is so exhausting.
Well, it's exhausting for me too, because not so much his face, it's what comes out of his mouth, right? Just ridiculous lies. I cannot believe it's been this many years and we are still listening to these ridiculous lies.
Yes. And the people are believing it.
And yeah, we all get that politicians lie, right? All politicians lie. That's their job. They're actors. And that's another thing, people don't think about. All of our politicians in Washington, D.C. that always complain about Hollywood actors, giving their opinion on politics. The people in Congress themselves are literally actors. Every single day in front of every single camera that they stand in front of, they are acting. They are putting on a show. And we have been drug into this massive reality TV show that is the United States. They're all acting. None of them believe most of the shit they say. A lot of those people, the people on the left and the right that are constantly fighting each other, a lot of them are really good friends and hang out with each other. This whole thing is a performance. This is like theater. This is not reality. When you see these senior people in Congress fighting with each other, it's all a show. They're not actually fighting. They're not. Thomas Massey came out when they were talking about voting on the CR bill. He said, this thing's already done. Why do you think we're leaving? All the votes, everyone's agreed to everything, right? He's like, this isn't how this works. We've all agreed to all this. That's why we're leaving town. We already know who's going to vote for the CR bill in the Senate when the people in the Senate were still saying they weren't going to vote for it. He's like, of course they're going to vote for it. Why do you think we're leaving town? The whole thing's a fucking performance. It's all lies from all of them. And whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, I hate to tell you, but whoever you're in love with in Congress is entirely full of shit. When they come out and say, I hate Ted Cruz, or I hate, I don't know who, Chuck Schumer, they're lying. They're all in it together. They're all buddies. They're all buddy. The whole thing's a performance. And yes, Steelwork makes a great point. He says, I think that's what the younger politicians don't get. You're exactly right. I think the younger politicians coming there, I don't think they're a part of that. It's those old folks. It's those people that's been there a long time that have, made their deals, so to speak. They've made their deals. However you want to say it. They've sold out. They've made their deals. They're all acting. It's all a fucking scam. The whole thing is a scam. And, when you think about it in that sense, to me, that makes it much more frightening. That makes it much more frightening. Thank you all so much for the gifts. Have a snowflake. I'm going to change that goal. I don't like the snowflakes. I know Jill don't like them either.
Nope, I do not.
Let's go with corn. All right. We have a corn goal. It's the beginning of unrestricted lobbying, handing out massive checks. Hi, Lorianne. Welcome. And I totally get it that people get upset. Like, people are very passionate about the things they believe in, and they don't want to believe, they don't want to believe that their either Democratic or Republican representatives are working with the other side. I'm telling you, they are. I'm telling you that everything they say to you is a lie. They don't actually believe the things you believe in. They just tell you that so you'll vote for them. You can agree or disagree. I don't really care, but when you have a Republican congressman who's pretty moderate or fairly moderate come out and tell you how everyone's going to vote and how it's all set up already, the only thing I was thinking was, why did it take so long for someone to actually admit this? Why did it take so long for someone to admit it? And I don't know much about Thomas Massie, but I thought it was a good thing he did. But what happened? So many people ignored him. Nobody's talking about that. To me, that would be like a huge statement. Like that, to me, that would be on the front page of every paper. It would be the only thing people are talking about is that all of this was already planned. They already knew how everyone was going to vote. It was all set up, right? Nobody's talking about it because then they would have to admit that their side is as full of shit as the other. That's why they don't talk about it, because they can't admit that. Supply chain says Massie isn't a moderate, but I will say he honestly believes what he says. I kind of gave him that kind of a moderate label because he came out and said that. He had a little bit of honesty. Just a moment of honesty, right? Thank you so much for the super chat. That is awesome. They love your giggles, Jill.
Yes, I see that.
Your giggles are pretty funny. So what do you do? Like, you have a congressman telling you this is all a setup, like this is all planned. How do you respond to that? People say go vote. Yes, you can go vote. But if it's all a setup, what are you really voting for? I mean, do we even know what we're voting for when we go vote?
In all reality, no.
Exactly. Thank you for the gifts. Somebody sent me a goat. Has the administration started dealing with the refining issue yet? I've heard nothing about refining from this administration. So I'm just going to assume no. They've talked about pipelines. They've talked about drilling. They've talked about everything but the thing that would be the most effective in solving the problem. Thank you so much, North Star. Do I think term limits would help? Absolutely. I absolutely think they would help. But you have these candidates like Ted Cruz was a big term limit guy, right? He was the one that pushed term limits a lot a few years ago. Why was he doing that? Because he knew they would never pass it. He knew it would never get passed. If he believed in term limits, he would have left. He would have limited himself and left if he believed in term limits. And we had a senator here in Oklahoma years ago. I can't remember his name. He was a doctor. And he believed in term limits, and when he ran for Senate, he said, I'm going to term limit myself. I'm going to serve a term, and if I win a second term, I'm going to serve that term, and then I'm gone. I'm going to term limit myself, and he actually followed through with it, and he did it. And everyone was shocked when he did it. And they're like, where are you going? We need you. And he's like, I told you. Literally the reason you voted for me is because I said I would term limit myself. And then when he did it, they got pissed off at him. Yeah, I'm a big fan of term limits. But you know what they're going to have to do for anyone to ever consider term limits? They're going to have to make the congressional pensions and, retirement funds. They're going to have to make them to where they can do that once they serve their 2 terms, or they'll never pass it. They'll stay there as long as they possibly can to get the best pension and retirement package. And if you have to, it's if I remember correctly, it's based on a point system and number of years served. You can't go to Washington, D.C. and do 2 terms as a senator and get a retirement package. That's not a thing. I think you can get a fraction of it or a portion of it, but you can't retire. And that's why that's one of the reasons they're there is, they want that check for life. We need gubernatorial term limits in Texas bad. We do have gubernatorial term limits in Oklahoma. You get 2 terms and you're gone. Two terms and you're gone. Christine says, I thought it was 2 terms for the pension. It is. So for the president, the president gets paid for life, wants to do their 2 terms. But the last time I looked at this, and it could have changed because it's probably been 2 or 3 years since I looked at retirement benefits for people in Congress. And the way I remember it, it was a point system and years served, and basically 2 terms wouldn't give you full retirement benefits. You had to do more than 2 terms, unless they've since changed that, which is totally possible. And it's different for people in the House and people in the Senate because the people in the Senate serve longer. So it could be that people in the Senate maybe, get to that point now after 2 terms. It's definitely not for people in the House because they only serve 2 years, which I think is also a terrible idea for people to have a 2-year term. Because if you're only serving a 2-year term and you have to spend over a year of that campaigning, what are we doing here? Like, we're just electing people to campaign, essentially. So, I think House members should have 4-year terms or something along those lines. I don't think you can have 2-year terms. That's ridiculous. On the other hand, the people that have 4-year terms, they're campaigning year round too. So it may not make that much difference anymore. But it used to make a difference. I don't know that it does anymore. Thank you all so much for the gifts. I don't know if you ever seen the documentary where they followed these people in Congress around. And like they get up in the morning, they go in this office building, they sit in this cubicle, and they spend the entire day on the phone asking people for money. That's basically their whole job. They spend their day on the phone calling people and asking them for money. It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
So, to get this straight down in the chat, Mr. Global did not say not to vote. He didn't say that.
When did I say that?
You didn't.
Her name is still gone. What is the deal? No name still has no name.
So we're calling her face now? Sheesh.
We're calling her face?
Yes, face. Sometimes YouTube, if you change your name or just open your account or things like that, sometimes it takes time for it to show up.
Okay, but why don't we ask her?
She's the one who said face.
Oh, she said face.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel weird calling you no name, and she said face. So.
Well, I mean, if she wants to be called face, then
Well, it's a joke because
I could just write it. I'll just write it here on my screen. I'll just.
Oh, you didn't say that? I thought you said face. I could have swore you said it.
I've already written.
Again, back to no name. We're gonna go no name.
I've already written face on my screen. Now, whenever her face goes by the word face, I know it's face.
No, Tom. I seen other comments.
Bruiser Overland. Okay. It's Bruiser Overland. Okay. Oh man. Do you think with all these threats towards Iran and the bombing of Yemen that our gas prices will increase? I know summer is coming, but how will you know if it's summer or Middle East? So I'm going to say not so much Yemen, but if escalation with Yemen isn't going to do much, regarding gas prices. But if the thing with Iran continues to escalate, that could equate to pretty significant increases in gas prices. And so, we expect, I shouldn't say we, because everyone right now is scared to death to predict gas prices. All the people that predict gas prices are scared to death to do it right now because they're afraid of being wrong. But because there's so much uncertainty. If gas prices go up by, say, anything more than about 25 cents a gallon between now and like June, July, then, you'll be able to tell. If it's just, if the gas prices continue rising due to summer blend and springtime and all of that, it'll be a slow and steady climb, sometimes a penny a day, sometimes 3 cents a day, but it'll be a somewhat stable climb in gas prices over a period of maybe 10, 12 weeks. If you see a 15 or 20 cent jump in gas prices, and I don't mean like where you live, but on a national average, that's Iran. And it'll also coincide with a pretty good jump in oil prices as well. So we'll know. If it's Iran or if it's just spring, summer demand, we'll know. Iran has said they changed their mind about getting rid of nukes. Brody says gas is $2.65 where I live. Gas is $2.69 where I live, but it was $2.49 a couple of months ago where I live. But that's just springtime, right? It's just springtime. I thought we had sanctions on Iranian oil. Will that affect because of global trade? The sanctions on Iranian oil are just another example of how sanctions aren't nearly effective as we sometimes think they are. They're still selling oil. Russia's still selling oil. They're just selling it at a discount, and they're not trading it in American dollars. So, countries like China will buy Iranian oil, and they'll buy all of it that they can, because as long as it's sanctioned and they can't put it on the global market, they can buy it on the black market for a huge discount. They're probably selling oil at around $50 or $55 a barrel right now, and so is Russia. And a lot of those countries that are, communist countries or countries where the government actually has all the purchasing power, they'll buy all that oil they can. They would be crazy not to. What country is not going to buy oil at $50 when it's $68? They'll buy it. They'll stock it up. They'll fill up their strategic reserves. They'll put it back for later. It's literally an investment for them. They can sell it later if they want. They can buy it and sell it right then. That's something Saudi Arabia was doing. Saudi Arabia was buying sanctioned Russian oil and flipping it. There was oil going out onto the global market from Saudi Arabia that was Russian oil. This was when oil was like $80. They were buying it for like $60, and they were turning around and selling it for $80. Yes, India buys Iranian oil. They have recently come out and said they're going to stop buying Russian oil, but I don't believe it. But yeah, India too. So the sanctions aren't really effective at keeping oil off the market. If sanctions actually kept oil off the market, the United States wouldn't use them because oil prices would go through the roof. If sanctions actually worked the way people think they work, right? We put sanctions on you, you're no longer allowed to sell oil. We would never put sanctions on anybody if it actually resulted in that oil coming off the market. Because if we sanctioned, just imagine sanctioning Russian oil, 10 million barrels a day, and that oil came off the market. Now, the sanctions just prevent different ways of trading and the currencies they trade in. That's the only thing the sanctions do. They don't actually prevent any oil from being on the market. If they did, we would never sanction oil. We couldn't afford to do it. Supreme Court just voted against Trump. Huh. Thank you all so much for the gifts. Wow, I never thought that about sanctions. Yeah, I mean, it's true, a lot of people don't realize, how a lot of these sanctions actually work. And I've had long and heated debates with people who told me that when we sanction oil, that brings it off the market. No, it does not. If the sanctions we had on Russian oil right now kept it off the market, oil would be $150 a barrel at least, probably more than that. If sanctions actually took oil off the market, we would actually drill, baby, drill. We would have to. But that's not really how sanctions work. It's more of a play on currency. It's a play on profit and currency and devaluing their currency. It doesn't take physical barrels off the market. Shouldn't the way to take Russians' oil off the markets is to sanction Malaysia or shipping? So that's one thing we have moved towards with both Russia and Iran is targeting, shadow fleets that we call them, these tankers that are because we've tried everything we can, right, with devaluing their oil. It's still being traded, and when that doesn't work well, we go after the shadow fleets, these companies that ship this oil around the world that's not supposed to be doing it. We sanction their owners. Yeah. How narrow is the Strait of Hormuz? I have a number in my head. Okay. I'm going to write this number down because I don't know if I'm right, but I have this number in my head. I'm going to write it down. This is the number that I think it is right here. I want to Google it to see if I'm right. No, it's more than 3 miles. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow channel, 30 miles wide at its narrowest point. And I had written down, I don't know if you can see that there. I had written down 35 miles. So I was a little off. It's 30. I had 35. I knew it was 30 something. So I split it down the middle and said 35. And the Strait of Hormuz, for you people that don't know, roughly what? I know if it was the price of right, or if it was the Price is Right, I would have lost. And somebody could have beat me by saying, whoever said 3 miles would have won. Oh, that was you. So for the people, if you don't know, the Strait of Hormuz is the southern part of the Persian Gulf, and so it's 30 miles wide, which on a military and shipping scale, that's actually a very narrow, right? 30 miles is very narrow when you're talking about the sea, when you have that much traffic going through it, because it's a little over 20% of all of the oil that is used in the entire world every single day goes through that 30-mile wide section. Over 20 million barrels of oil a day is shipped through that Strait of Hormuz, and it's a very tight spot, and it's a very dangerous spot. There's a lot of activity there. You have Iran on one side. You have Saudi Arabia on the other side. And it's a sketchy situation. And that strait is probably the most protected area on the planet. Because if anything happens to that strait, the global economy collapses pretty much immediately. Yes, you can see across the strait. Is Canada looking to meet with Trump? So the last thing I've heard um, about Canada meeting with Trump was when Carney said, "If you want to talk to me, quit running your mouth." I don't know if that's changed, but that was the last I heard. Carney said, "If you want to talk to me, quit running your mouth." So we'll see what happens. Do I agree with? I agree with that 1,000%. I felt that that's exactly what Justin Trudeau should have done. And I don't agree with it because I know it's the right thing to do. Because I'm not like some high level politician that, I don't, there's a lot of strategy here, right? I'm just saying that's what I would have done. So I agree with it. Hi, Monkey Boots. Thank you, Aberisk. A lot of news about USA tourism being down. Yeah, there's tourism in the United States is getting smoked right now. Even people in the United States aren't traveling a lot right now. People are afraid to leave the damn country. U.S. citizens are afraid to leave the United States. They're afraid they won't get back in. I saw they released I just forgot her name, but it was a lady from Canada that they had held in detention for 2 weeks. She got released yesterday.
So it's like we're trapped here. It is. It's like we're trapped here. We have no freedom to just leave because we might not be able to come back.
So listen, I heard this advice yesterday, and I'm gonna share this advice. Okay, I'm gonna share this advice. This is advice that I heard. If you leave the country, even if you're a U.S. citizen, right? Don't matter. It don't matter if you're white with blue eyes like me. It does not matter. Okay, if you leave this country, leave your phone at home, and take a burner phone, because what they are doing is they're stopping people that are coming into the country. They're detaining them, and they're going through all of their phones and looking at their social media, their text messages. They're looking at their phones to see if they're anti-US, which basically means against Donald Trump. If you have anything in your phone, you're likely to spend some time in the can.
Yes, I would have to take a burner.
Yes. I go find you a Cricket or whatever the burner phones are now. I don't know. Is Cricket still a thing? But
Cricket is, but it's a contract now.
Okay. Well, whatever, or completely erase your phone. I guess you could do that.
I mean, you can uninstall all your apps and all that, but I would have to use a burner for sure.
Yeah, you could. I mean, I would say you can back everything up, but I don't know if I would do that.
I would not get back in. I can tell you that right now. With the shit that I say, I would not get back in. No. They would be like, no.
You would be so famous.
Yeah, because I got a big mouth.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be a good famous. I mean, it might be a good famous on the side of history, but it would not be a good famous for me.
Right. But if that happens, you need to let me be the person that interviews you when you get out.
Oh, yes.
I mean, somebody's got to get something out of it.
Oh, God.
What? I don't want it to happen.
I'm not a loose cannon. It's just that I say mean things about the dictator. I say really mean things about him.
I mean, you might be a bit of a loose cannon. I don't know.
I'm not a loose cannon. I ain't even close to a loose cannon. I'm just mean.
I'm Gen X. Oh yeah,
Thank you.
I would too. I would fight to get you out too. That's the least I could do for the interview you're going to give me.
God, that is so mean.
I'm kidding. You know I'm kidding.
I know.
Hell, I've almost talked myself into getting detained. I might just.
I would hide a phone, right? I would take two phones and I would hide one. I would take this one and a burner and I would hide the burner if they took this one and detained me. And I would record everything
Yes.
because that's what I would do.
I would. I don't know. I might just say something on purpose to get detained at this point. There's no such thing as bad press. Thank you for the gifts, Achilles.
And country, that is pretty much why I try to stay away from protesting too. Yes. Oh, Tracy, you don't want to know where I'd hide that burner.
Okay.
Tracy asked me where I would hide the burner.
Am I going to have to mute my own mod?
No, you ain't muting me.
You're going to get my live taken down.
I didn't say it.
Okay. In your purse?
Yeah, in my purse. Yes, that's where I would hide it, in my purse.
Do you have a purse?
Yeah, I do.
Does it have a chain on it that hooks to your belt loop?
No.
No. I want to get a wallet with a chain on it that hooks to my belt loop.
No.
It's a conversation starter, right?
Oh, someone said it's more of a clutch.
I could put that on. I could get on my kid's bike and ride around town.
Monkey Boots said no, global no. So, yeah, I'm going to agree with Monkey Boots.
We always get the giggles on Fridays. Jill gets the giggles about every day around here. But yeah, probably more on Friday for sure. What are your thoughts on what Danielle Smith did from Alberta? Which thing are you talking about? Does the president have anything to do with the price of gas? Not right now. Chris Wright did come out. The one thing that Chris Wright did say is the president doesn't affect the price of gas. Right in the middle of him giving Donald Trump credit for gas prices, which he said the president doesn't control gas prices. Yeah. If you get the wallet with the chain, you got to go back and get the Doc Marten boots and the Jinko jeans. I already have some Doc Marten boots. I still have my Doc Martens from high school, and I still wear them. Yep, I still have my Docs. I don't know what Jinko jeans are, though. I don't remember that.
I think it's pronounced Jenko.
I'm only 26, so I'm asking out of curiosity. Was the president always blamed for gas prices, or is this new? Pretty much. Yes. The president's always been blamed for gas prices. Pretty much.
It's gotten worse over the years, though.
Well, that's because gas prices have gotten worse. And people's spending power has gotten significantly worse, which also makes the higher gas prices piss people off even more. People complaining about paying $1 for gas in 1980 is not the same as people complaining about $4 gas in 2023. Because in 1980, with $1 gas, you could still keep the lights on. Yeah, people have always complained about gas, but it's gotten worse, like Jill said, for sure. But the middle class in the United States is being squeezed at a level, and this has gotten significantly worse for decades. It's the middle class, that's sort of the backbone of America, of the United States, is just shrinking every year.
So I feel like they are whining frustrating because the price of the gas keeps going up. But at the same time, they're like, don't raise minimum wage because everything else will go up, right? Well, everything else is already going up. And the price of gas is going to go up too. This is not the 80s. This is not the 90s. That's what they do. The minimum wage is still the same, right? From the 90s. So they think the gas should be the same. Well, it doesn't work like that. Minimum wage should be up.
Yes. Thank you for the gifts. Yeah, we definitely have a wage problem in the United States, and that's one of the problems. Let me scroll up here. I had a question. I'd love to hear Mr. Global give us his take on Jimmy Carter and the oil embargo in the 70s. Jimmy Carter got blamed for all that. Jimmy Carter got blamed for high gas prices in the 70s because OPEC cut us off. That is also the mechanism that triggered us building the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That's the oil embargo of the 70s is why we built the SPR for supply disruptions. But yeah, it likely cost him the election. A lot of people, we had really high gas prices, we had really high inflation, and a lot of people attribute his loss to the hostage situation that was going on at that time. But I don't think he would have won regardless. I think with the inflation and the gas, look, if you're a president of the United States and you have inflation and high gas prices, you're done. And it doesn't matter why. You're just done. You're done. And conversely, if you're the president during a period of low gas prices, you're going to be the greatest president that's ever lived. And Donald Trump had low gas prices during his presidency, not of his doing, but he got credit for all that, right? A lot of people attribute the wage problem is only a problem if you're trying to live on minimum wage. Well, I mean, the problem with your statement is that you make it sound like it's a choice for people to not live on minimum wage. If there are working adults in this country, and I mean people that are out of well removed from high school or college, and if they're working for minimum wage, they're not doing it as a choice. It's because they can't find anything else. And I would argue that people that are forced to work for minimum wage because they have no options, is probably somebody I would want to hire. If they're willing to work for peanuts, what would they be willing to do to work for a good wage, So, the minimum wage has to change. It just does. And for whatever reason, we often try to lay the responsibility of this on the people that are working for minimum wage, and we completely forget that maybe they don't have a choice. They have to take whatever job they can get to put food on the table. And the minimum wage has been the same for, good Lord, what's it been? 17 years or something like that. Fortunately, we've had a lot of states step up and raise their minimum wage. And that's the idea, according to people in the federal government, is that it should be a state's issue. But what do you do when you have a lot of states like Texas and Oklahoma that just refuse to do anything with the minimum wage?
Pennsylvania's still 725.
It is?
Yes.
Yeah, it's still 725 here. And the thing is, Oklahoma's probably has one of the lowest cost of living in the whole country. It's really cheap to live here.
And it's not cheap to live in Pennsylvania.
Right. But the minimum wage, you can't survive on the minimum wage in Oklahoma. And Oklahoma's the cheapest, probably one of the one or two cheapest states in the country to live in. Really cheap to live in Oklahoma.
It's definitely not cheap to live in Pennsylvania. With the gas tax
Mm-hmm.
and all the taxes we have, and then the price of everything. It's not cheap to live in Pennsylvania, and it's 725. And we're a purple state, but we've had blue governors for the last how long, right? Our previous governor was Democrat. But these people in my area are voting in all these Republicans that won't pass it.
One of the common themes you hear from businesses in my state is, we can't find any good help.
They say that here too. And
Yeah.
you know what else? The people that voted for Trump say that too. Oh, these kids are lazy. Nobody can ever find good work. Well, if you're going to pay them $7.25 an hour, they're not going to do good work.
No, they're not. You get what you pay for, right? If you're paying $7.25, that's what you're getting. You're getting $7.25. And I don't know how they need to structure. Personally, I think the minimum wage should be structured on cost of living in each state. The minimum wage in Oklahoma, it probably shouldn't be what it needs to be in California, right? So come up with a formula. Come up with a minimum wage formula that's based on the cost of living where you are, and that's the minimum wage. I think it's pretty simple. I'm not saying that the minimum wage in Oklahoma needs to be $20 an hour. That's not what I'm saying. It's not that complicated to figure out what the cost of living is and set a minimum wage based on the cost of living. And that way you don't have to worry about, small businesses. With an arbitrary minimum wage that, could definitely impact small businesses that can't afford to pay their people that much. They just don't make very much money. The problem is, wages. Typically, the market sets all this stuff, right? We do see that sometimes with wages, but we don't. We often don't see markets dictate wages unless there's just something crazy happening. If you go to a boom town, right? If you go to a boom town where there's a lot of oil and gas extraction activity and a lot of people coming in and working on oil and gas, all of the fast food places will quickly double their wages just so they can get people to work. And their sales are so high and their they're getting so much business from being in a boom town that they can afford to do that. But that's pretty rare. Like, that's not a common thing. That's a boom and bust cycle of wage movement, and that's not a long-term solution. The minimum wage in Midland is $7.25, but if you go to work at a, if you go to work at a McDonald's in Midland, Texas, you're probably making $15 or $20 an hour. And that's what I'm talking about. So, competition in the labor force with all of the oil and gas jobs in Midland, competition in the labor force is driving up wages at fast food places. But that's because the labor force has an option of going and getting a $100,000 a year job in the oil field. That's not typical. You can't go get a $100,000 a year job in most places in the country without an education. It's often hard to get one with an education. And a number 3 is $15. That's right. The prices have gone up with the wages. But guess what? A number 3 is probably $15 where I live, where the people are making $7.25. I wonder how the drilling crew wages compare to Western Canada. So in Midland, if you're working on a drilling rig starting out, you can probably expect to start out at $25 to $27 an hour for, a worm. Probably 25, 27 an hour, 84 hours a week, 44 hours overtime. And as your motor hands make a couple of bucks more, your derrick hand makes a couple of bucks more than that. Your drillers are easily making, 35, 40 bucks an hour, easy. And it's, they really depend on the overtime though. You get 44 hours a week of overtime when you're, if you're at $30 an hour and then you get 44 hours a week at $45 an hour, that's pretty good for a lot of people. Gerald says, Mr. Global, I think farmers only pay minimum wage for Latinos. I don't think, I don't think they're even making minimum wage, honestly. If they're illegal, if they're not a citizen, I don't think they're even getting paid that. They might be. I don't know. But I knew a woman that wouldn't date anyone unless they made $100,000. With inflation, she's probably raised that to 150 now. Nobody should work more than 40 hours a week. So a lot of those guys, in West Texas, they'll work 84 hours in a week, but then they'll get a week off. They'll work 7 days straight, 12 hours a day, and then they'll get 7 days off. Or they'll work 14 days straight and get 7 days off, or they'll work 14 on and 14 off. But they work rotations, so they get a lot of time off. They typically work 6 months out of the year, sometimes 9, depending on who they work for and how their schedule is. I worked 14 on and 14 off for years. So they do put in a lot of hours in a week, but then they basically get 2 vacations a month, CJ says, yeah, but they have a lot of time off to spend all that money. Yeah, that's what they do. They get all that time off and they spend all their money. That's why, when I worked 14 and 14, I would have another job for my time off. I would come home and work some business or something. What do you think the likelihood of LNG being used over nuclear to power AI infrastructure? So the LNG will be used a lot more than nuclear to power AI in overseas markets. Places like Europe, especially Germany, France, places like that, they'll use a ton of LNG. Here, we're going to use everything. We're going to use natural gas, nuclear, renewables. Google is building a new AI data center in my state of Oklahoma. And the reason they're doing it is because they have a goal. They basically have their own net zero goal. And in order to meet their corporate goal, so they're going to put a big data center in Oklahoma by Stillwater and tie into the renewable power we have in Oklahoma. We have a lot of renewable power in Oklahoma, right? So, but here's the thing about that. Google's going to come in. They're going to build this huge AI data center. They're going to get a contract to buy renewable power so they can say that they're clean, right? But the part about that you don't know is that they're basically going to suck up all the renewable power. Everyone else is kind of going to be forced to use natural gas power. So they're only clean by proxy. If your existence causes other people to use dirty fuel, then you are not clean. But that's what we're seeing happening around the country. We're seeing these corporations, big, massive corporations, they'll move into an area, they'll sign a huge contract for power, and they'll want that power to come from our renewable sources so they can claim they're clean. But what they're not telling you is everyone that was using that renewable power before now has to use coal or natural gas. So they're not, you know what I mean? It's it's a shell game. XYZZ says that's how clean energy and carbon taxes work. That is exactly right. That is exactly how clean energy and carbon taxes work. It's not that it's any cleaner. It's just the company with the most notoriety and the biggest platform and the company that hires all the people and has a huge sign for everyone can see from 10 miles away. Yes, that company's clean. But everyone surrounding that company is now using significantly more dirty energy. So that company can have the clean power so we can all feel better about it. It's not actually reducing carbon emissions. It's not actually physically doing any of the things we think it's doing. It's a shell game. It's kind of a scam. It really kind of is. Because they'll move in and they'll be like, oh, we need more natural gas power. and their existence will create, more natural gas power just to other people who are consuming it. That is exactly how it works. So yeah, natural gas and LNG will both, be used a lot for AI, and it's already happening. That's why we're currently consuming more natural gas than we're producing, because the demand for natural gas in the United States is increasing 4% a year. It typically increases at like 1 to 2%. Now we're at 4%. And then you couple that with our LNG exports and the roughly 4 trillion cubic feet of natural gas a year that we convert to LNG to ship overseas. Now we're in a deficit. And we're in the middle of, and we're in spring where temperatures are mild and natural gas is still $4. Thank you for coming in, Coda. Can't wait for 2-foot-long vegetables and glowing cow's milk. What the? What the hell does that mean? I love it when I get behind on the comments.
Yes, I was going to say you're behind on the comments. I think it was the nuclear thing they were referring to.
Thank you so much, Scotty. Yes, I reached my goal. Thank you guys so much. I just heard a bell go off in the other room.
Oh, somebody's got to go to the bathroom.
Hope they can hold it. Come here. What's the matter? Do you need to go potty? She's like, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Take her to the bathroom.
I'm live.
They can wait a minute. Everybody would be willing to wait for you to take the donkey to the bathroom. I'm sure.
I gotta go let the dog out. So if you want to know who let the dog out, it's me. Come on.
Yes, Juju, it's his dog.
All right. That wasn't so bad. So my dogs have a bell that they ring when they need to go outside. She rang the bell, and in my mind I was like, how long is it going to take her to come in here and tell me, hey, fucker, I need to go?
It didn't take her long.
No,
I gotta go.
it was like 20 seconds. She's in here looking at me like, what's your fucking problem? I rang the bell. That's what I'm supposed to do. She walks in here. She sits down, cocks her head over. Like, what the fuck's your problem? Yeah, my dogs are pretty smart.
Yes, he has 2 dogs.
Thank you so much for the super chat, Mary. I have 2 miniature schnauzers. I have a solid white one that has blue eyes, and I have a brown and white one. Thank you, Mary. Thank you so much. Yeah, Wilson and Marley. How long did it take them to train the bell or train them to use the bell? It was like, I thought it was going to take a long time, but it was just a couple of days because they had already been trained to go out and they would go to the door and just sit and look at you. And so they had already been trained to do that. So we got a bell and we mounted it, a few inches off the floor because they're little bitty dogs. It's a little bell. And it was like a couple of days. Just went over there and rung the bell ourselves, did that a few times, and before you know it, they were doing it. So they're pretty smart dogs. They had already been trained, house trained and everything, but the way our house is kind of laid out, you sometimes couldn't see them sitting at the door. Like if you weren't looking. So it's pretty easy to train a dog if you know how. Yeah, I don't know how. My wife does that. If it wasn't for my wife, my dogs wouldn't know how to do anything because, I can teach people stuff, but I can't teach dogs.
I told you what mine does. She has her own personal bell by screaming if you ignore the whine.
So do you know what a person does, like what a child does? They're miniature schnauzers. Like what a child does when they have to go to the bathroom really bad. How they kind of move their legs around and they sit there and squirm. That's what Marley does. When Marley has to go to the bathroom, my little female dog, she does that. And it's hilarious.
No.
And I'll say, "Oh, you need to go potty?" And she doesn't have a tail, so she wags her ass.
Oh, yes. I know what that's like because my little dog didn't have a tail. Yes.
So I'll say, "You need to go potty?" And she'll look at me and her ass will just start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we teach Trump about wood hardness? I don't think so. Thanks for coming in, Calvin. Wilbur says, if we get 30% of our gas from Canada, could they nail us? We actually get 2. It's not quite 30%, but we could source it somewhere else. It wouldn't be that bad. Did I catch AOC and Bernie? No. Watching, nothing against them, but watching AOC and Bernie do a rally is not in my that's not in my wheelhouse. I don't care about seeing that. I just don't think they are the people that can pull us out of this mess we're in. I just don't. Especially Bernie. Bernie has a long history of losing. And
yeah, but Bernie also has a long history of protesting and knowing how to do it, right? So at least they're trying. At least they are trying.
Well, yeah, I give them credit for that. And honestly, even if it was some person that I just thought was amazing, I still wouldn't watch. I just don't watch shit like that. I don't care. I don't watch debates. I don't watch rallies. I'm just, when it comes to politicians, what I say to them is, I'm just not that into you.
Right. I don't watch that either.
Yeah, I don't.
Just saying that,
I get enough of that on my phone every day. I'm not going to sit down and watch it on TV. I'm not. I already consume too much stupidity as it is, and too much politics.
Yeah, I wouldn't, like, Bernie's too old to be president, but at least he is trying to do something right now.
Yeah, I don't fault him at all for doing it. I mean, more power to him. It's just not something that I'll watch. It's just not. I'm not that interested in it, honestly. I feel like, okay, we're 60 days into this presidency, and what's going to come of this? Like, what good is it going to do? Is it going to get him out of office? Is it going to change something? Am I going to have to? We're going to have to do this for 4 years for the next election? Like, what are you doing? I've never been a fan of rallies of any kind from either political party, and I'm sure it makes people feel good. It doesn't make me feel good in any way. Doesn't make me feel good in any way. We are all inundated with all of the information we really need on a daily basis of everything that's going on. I don't need more of it. I don't need to be inspired, Steven says, I like to golf, but I don't watch golf. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I agree with that.
And, why? So this is not something Democrats typically do, right? Is have rallies at this time of year, this time of a cycle or whatever. So are they doing it because Donald Trump's the president, or are they doing it because Democrats are polling at 29%? What's the real reason? Is it both? I don't know. But if the Democratic Party has been rejected, the next question is, okay, is Bernie Sanders the answer? Is Bernie Sanders really the person? If you're a Democrat, is he the person you want speaking for you after being flatly rejected? I would say probably not. I don't think Bernie Sanders reaches a large audience. I don't think he reaches enough people. He reaches your people, but yeah. Rusty, you don't watch racing? Thank you for the gifts. Halfway to my goal again.
User failure error down there. Things that you don't have. Hold on.
Yes.
Okay, user failure error thinks that you shouldn't be allowed to be talking about Bernie or anything. He said he's saying he doesn't want to hear about it on TV, yet he's talking about it himself. So he thinks because you don't want to hear something on TV, you should not be allowed to talk about it too.
So first of all, they're gone. But second of all, I doubt I have said a single thing that Bernie Sanders and AOC says at a rally. If my live sounds like a Bernie Sanders rally, then I'll stop doing it this minute and never do another one, because that would be my worst nightmare.
It doesn't.
It's to sound like Bernie Sanders.
should have muted them so that they can come back and cry some more.
Got to be in the mix. Rusty, I raced for a lot of years, and it was a blast. It became too much work. It really did. It became too much work for me. I bet you see eye to eye with Sanders on some issues. I'm sure I do. I see eye to eye with a lot of people I don't like. Not that I don't like Bernie Sanders, but like I said, I could absolutely love the politician that's doing the rally. I'm still not going to watch the rally because I'm just, that's not my thing. That's not my thing. They're not going to say anything that I haven't heard 1,000 times. I would rather watch an episode of Seinfeld that I've seen 100 times. If I'm going to watch something I've seen 100 times, at least be entertaining. Thank you so much for the gifts.
I'm not disagreeing with you on watching it because I didn't watch it either, and I wasn't going to watch it.
Yeah.
But I just think that Bernie is at least trying. That's how I look at it.
Well, that's true. When Donald Trump holds a rally, he's trying too.
No, he's trying.
So,
no.
He is.
No,
he's
not the same.
It is the same. He's trying to win, right?
Bernie isn't trying to win anything.
Bernie's trying to push the Democratic agenda, right?
Well, he's trying to stop this crap.
I get that. I'm not saying anything bad about Bernie. I'm just saying he's not doing anything special, right? And I'm not a Democrat, but if I was, Bernie wouldn't be the person that I would want speaking for my party. He just wouldn't be. He just would not be the person. And the bad part about that is the reason he's doing it is because they don't have anybody.
Exactly.
And
that is my point.
Yeah. And so Bernie, Biden left because we didn't, Biden ran again because the Democrats didn't have anybody. And then he decided to quit. And then he walked off into the sunset. And it's like another old timer has stepped into his place. It's like, well, we don't have anybody, so I'll fill in.
The thing is that he's doing more than the Democrats are doing. The Democrats ain't doing nothing.
No, they're not.
They're doing nothing.
They're not. What are they going to do? They lost.
Fight this fascism bull crap, right? They could help fight this fascism bull crap, but they're not. They're just sitting there taking our money, doing nothing.
I totally get that. But they also had a year to fight this, and they fought it for a year and lost. So
They did not fight. They didn't fight. That wasn't a fight.
Well, that's because they're Democrats.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm just saying, they did not fight. And now they're completely giving up. Completely.
My biggest beef with the Democratic Party is they're so engulfed and worried about traditions and norms and being proper and being a statesman. Like, you're in a fight against a fucking schoolyard bully. This is not the time for your bullshit fucking traditionalism or, making sure your suit's pressed. Nobody gives a fuck about that. Okay. You're in a fight against a schoolyard bully. You're going to have to get dirty. And the Democrats don't know how to do that. They're so worried about appearances and how they look and looking like they're better than others instead of just fighting, right? And that's my biggest problem with Democrats. It's too much identity politics. It's too much labeling people, and it's too much traditionalism. We don't live in a traditional society anymore. Our politics are no longer traditional. You have to change, and they're having a hard time changing.
Yes, and like Joan said, that's why AOC and Bernie are out rallying people up. That's what she's right, and that's what they need. And because because the Democrats they do not, they're not good at this. This is why I'm an independent, right?
Daisy's.
You know why.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's the thing. Yeah, someone mentioned Jasmine Crockett. Why can't more Democrats be like Jasmine Crockett?
Yes.
Why is that such a bad thing? Like, it's like and the Moskowitz guy, like, there's a couple of them that punch back, but the vast majority of them don't. And, read the room, people. And I don't have a problem with AOC, right? Like, I don't agree with everything she believes, but I don't have a problem with her. It's mostly there's another 90-year-old white man on a stage telling us to get our shit together. That's my biggest problem. I have no interest in seeing Bernie Sanders. It's not because I have a problem with Bernie Sanders. It's that he's not the answer, and he's not going to help. You might as well stick Hillary Clinton up there. It's not going to matter.
I'm just hoping that he gets other people to speak out, that they can get other Democrats to speak out.
Yeah.
That's what needs to be done, and I think that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah. They should have done that
a long time ago.
A long time ago.
Absolutely.
And what's frustrating is, you had an entire election cycle and an entire Trump administration years ago. Like, you should know your opponent by now.
Oh, they know.
And you should have learned to stop assuming that all of this stupid shit he says is going to affect him negatively. And that's another problem. Like, even 6 months ago, Democrats were saying, Donald Trump would say something, and Democrats were saying, oh, that's the thing. That's the thing that's going to end Donald Trump. There is no thing that ends Donald Trump other than you beating Donald Trump. Quit waiting for him to make a mistake and go beat him. Right? And so they've been playing prevent defense for 10 fucking years with Donald Trump, or 12 years, however long it's been.
We got someone down there that thinks Donald Trump is absolutely the greatest president. He's not even a president. He's not even a president. Like, he's not. How can he be something he's not?
Oh. If Donald Trump is so great, then these people won't mind us putting a list of his quotes on his statues.
Yes.
It's the only thing I ask. It's the only thing I ask. You want to put him on Mount Rushmore? Go ahead. Just put a list of the stupid shit he has said underneath his face so we can all remember forever. Let's make sure that the ignorance and stupidity of Donald Trump is immortalized forever.
He's got it right. Trump is great at being a criminal. I mean, sometimes he goes and he shuts off Barron's computer, and Barron turns it back on, and then he says, "How'd you do that?" And he says, "None of your business, Dad." He's so smart, Barron. He can turn on that computer that Trump shut off. I don't know. Just a smart family. For fuck's sake. Genius, yes, he's a genius. He can turn on the computer that Trump took off of him and shut off, or whatever, however it happened. Motion detected at front door. Right?
Dude, the next time The next time Barron sees Donald, he's going to be like, "You are such a dumb fuck. You really said I knew how to turn on a computer?"
Right? User bunch of social security numbers thinks I sound really, really bitter. Well, user, the only thing I'm bitter about is that you're gone now.
Well, this all escalated.
It did.
I love it. Steelwork says Barron may run one day. I agree. I think he will run, and I think he'll probably win. Yeah, because those people are still alive and breathing in this country.
Doves. Oh my God! Please do not say that.
Say what?
That he might win. The dumb people will still be here.
Well, hey, you don't know Barron.
I know he can turn on a computer.
No, I'm saying he may not be anything like his dad. You don't know.
No.
You know?
He will not.
After growing up, hell, he might come out as he might turn into a Democrat, Hell, who knows what's going to happen with Barron Trump. There's some fake Barron Trump accounts on X that post things pretending to be him. But I just
So
I think we should hear from Barron Trump before we decide if we hate him or not.
right. I got you. Yeah. Okay. Well, Def Code name says that the Trump lover really triggered you. I don't get triggered. I do not get triggered. I mean, I might say stuff to people, but that's not the same as being triggered. I will say, and we've said this before, that I have a hard time dealing with stupid people. Like, it really, I do.
Well, you're in the wrong place.
You're not stupid.
I'm talking about the United States.
I just said that because it was so perfect. But, yeah. But we know that we've talked about this before. Yes.
And, there's a good chance that Ivanka has quite a influence on Barron. Especially if Barron looks at Ivanka the way Donald Trump does. Hell, Ivanka might be. As a potential date. Yeah, they met on Tinder.
Oh my God.
What? What if Trump comes out and says that Barron knows how to swipe right?
I will make fun of it again.
You think Ivanka says, "I'm your sister. I'm your sister. I'm your sister."
Holy fuck. That could be what's wrong with that family. That could be what's wrong with that family.
I don't know. Yes, like on Joe Dirt. It's 4:00, Jill. Yes. Everyone, thank you so much for the gifts and joining us today on this beautiful Friday. Hope everyone has a great weekend. We'll be back tomorrow. If you want one of the That's Not a Thing t-shirts, I have a whole bunch of different t-shirts. Link in my bio. Just go to my page and go to my bio. There's a link there to my Shopify store. And we'll be back on tomorrow. Jill?
Yep. Thank you, everyone, for the gifts, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys.